Hi, my name is Amanda Bench, and this is my very first YouTube video. Uh, I just have this desire on my heart to help people who are struggling and who are grieving, and because I've really been through a lot. In the last 2 years, I lost my amazing husband unexpectedly of a brain aneurysm. I had to move out of our home pretty much with very little help uh, quickly. I had to go through a long, grueling probate. Um, I had to get 2 surgeries. I had to get a hysterectomy. And when I went in for my pre op appointment, they found a lump on my neck, and it was cancer. So I had thyroid cancer. Just had that not too long ago. And I lost my dog of 15 years. um, so I know people have had it worse than people. I'm not trying to um, act like nobody's had it worse than me, but I've been through hell and back in this last year and a half. I didn't mean 2 years, year and a half. It's only been a year and a half. So I just want to say, I'm on grief pages, but I don't post a lot because I know that people, you either trust God or you're mad at God. And I get it. I understand being mad because I was mad for a little while. But I just want you to know that God is so good. God is so good. And I encourage you, if you are a believer, that you just surrender. My life changed when I surrendered. All of my friends told me, Amanda, just lean on God, give it to God, give it to God. And honestly, I got tired of it. I said, I don't want God, I want my husband. And I was mad for a little while. And one morning I woke up and I surrendered. I said, God, I can't do this. I can't do this. I give this all to you. And I should back up a little bit. Every morning after he died, I would wake up and I would go out on our porch because that's where I could go to cry. Where people wouldn't, where my family wouldn't hear me, and or hear me as badly. And one morning, I sat on the couch first, and that's when I surrendered. And I said, God, I can't do this. I'm asking you to please help me. I surrender. And I went out. Oh, I just get goosebumps every time I share this. I went out on the patio and I looked up and there were crosses. There were 3 big crosses in the sky, and there were also just crosses forming all over the sky. And if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see that there's more to that. My husband, right before he died, he made me 3 crosses, 3 wooden crosses, right before he died. And so I knew that was God letting me know that it was going to be okay. And the miracle in it is that my husband was not a believer. I was a Christian and he wasn't. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed for years that he would be saved. And God saved him on his deathbed. It was a miracle. And so I'm really not mad because, God didn't have to save him. He denied him when he was here on earth, and he saved him. In fact, I'll share that. I'll share that because I guess there's so many of you that everyone around my hometown in Wyoming has heard this, but I guess you YouTube viewers have not. Basically, what happened is I was in Wyoming. We lived in Wyoming and Las Vegas, and I was at our house in Wyoming, and he was in Vegas when with our daughter when he fell from an aneurysm. And I got out there. I got on a plane that night. I got out there, and there was no movement. Like, there was absolutely no movement at all. And my pastor, who was also had become really good friends with him, and who, my church had been praying for him for his salvation. My pastor was there, and my daughter was with him, and she was on FaceTime speaking to him through us. And my pastor sat down, and he said, Maddie, I need you to ask your dad if he trusts in Jesus. And she said, Dad, do you trust in Jesus? And his whole body just moved. His whole body moved. And I'm telling you, there was no movement. None. And so my pastor, I just get goosebumps every time I share this. So my pastor went off to pray. And I was just, on the phone with him, just praying, and and he came back a little while later. and he said, Amanda, he said, you know I would never lie to you. God saved your husband. He saved him. He spoke to him in my kitchen and said, I saved him. So that was, how do you describe that? Like the happiest, worst moment of my life. And so I was grateful, but of course I was still, just praying for a miracle. I was praying for a miracle. And so I got out there, and again, no movement at all, nothing. And they told me I had to take him off of life support, that it was time. And if you've ever had to do that, first of all, I'm very, very sorry that you had to do that, because it's probably the most brutal thing you'll ever do in your life. And there was a chapel, this was in Las Vegas at St. Rose Dominican Hospital on Eastern. There was a chapel in the basement, and I was down there just crying and crying and crying and crying, like, how do you make that decision, And I was talking to my pastor, and I said, but what if God heals him? What if God wants, and he said, Amanda, if God's going to heal him, he doesn't need the machines to do it. And so that really helped me to make that decision to do it. And so I went upstairs, and I got by his ear, and I said, honey, I said, I love you, and I want you to come back to me so bad. But if you want to go be with Jesus, I release you to be with Jesus. And he got the biggest tear down his eye. Biggest tear. And I'm so sad I didn't get a picture of that. And in fact, my daughter was like, ran to the doctor because she thought that was a sign of hope. But I knew it was that he wanted to go. But anyway, I just want to encourage you. Man, I'm on these grief pages, and I want to comment sometimes, but it's almost like I don't even know where to begin. It's so big, and people are in so much pain, and they're so, especially right now with this coronavirus going around, my heart truly, truly breaks for everyone that is suffering, and I am so sorry for your pain, and I am so